A very good afternoon to all present here. On behalf of Galter, I, Prachi Mishra, along with Advocate Sheetal Kumbar, extend a very warm welcome to everyone gathered here today for the panel discussion on rights and bytes, exploring the ethico-legal frontiers of human rights in the age of AI. This event promises to be a melting pot of ideas as our esteemed panelists, each an expert in their field, will share their valuable insights for 15 minutes each. We kindly request all attendees to keep their microphones on mute until the open discussion begins.
Today, we commemorate International Human Rights Day, a day that stands as a beacon of hope and a reminder of our collective responsibility towards upholding the human rights. This year's theme, freedom, equality, and justice for all, resonates deeply in today's rapidly evolving digital landscape. It calls for a balanced approach where technological advancements and human rights principles coexist harmoniously.
The intersection of this year's theme with technology, especially in the age of AI, presents unique challenges and opportunities. As AI becomes more integrated into our lives, questions about ensuring freedom, equality, and justice in the digital realm become increasingly significant. Our discussion today seeks to shed light on these critical issues, exploring how we can harness AI's potential while safeguarding human rights.
On this note, with immense pleasure, it is my honor to introduce and invite Dr. Josina Rodriguez. Dr. Josina is the member of Academic Advisory Board at International Association for Trusted Blockchain Application. She is the first holder of PhD specializing in blockchain in Portugal. In her thesis, she focused on blockchain as a new social and financial model and analyzed the impacts of this technology would have on business models and the ecosystem. Before starting as an investigator, she worked for over 20 years in the corporate world as a marketing and finance director and as a consultant and advisor. Dr. Josina is currently a blockchain trainer, a digital business transformation and blockchain specialist for companies and startups, as well as a lecturer and advisor at various institutions and venture capitalists. Ma'am, we are pleased to have you with us and are excited to hear your insights. Over to you, ma'am.
Good
Dr. Josina.
morning. Thank you. Thank you for the inviting. Is it possible to share my PowerPoint, please? May I?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay, thank you. So, is it possible to see now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. So, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to share in a very important day. Thank you, Dr. Bandari, for the invite. And today we are talking about the exploring and the ethical frontiers of the human rights in AI. So what I would propose is just jump into the impact of AI. As we know, it's so huge, and each time we can see that it's beyond our imagination, and day by day it's our reality. Blockchain revolution, which this mean in our days, ethical considerations, human rights in digital era. What you can ask from the AI specialists to help us to protect human rights and legal frameworks. So as soon as possible, let me jump in to say that artificial intelligence, it's the ability, it's just a way to show a definition, the ability to process vast amounts of data and make autonomous decisions, has permeated various aspects of our lives, from healthcare, finance, education, beyond. Even though during we are studying and we are deciding, it's not our Google. We can say that it's another kind of brand that we can use, but the question is how. So we are living and interacting. And about blockchain, what you can say about human rights, we know that everybody started to talk about blockchain with Bitcoin, but it's beyond cryptocurrency. We are talking about a structure that can change all business models from healthcare, supply chain, all kind education. So which kind of benefits we can have: transparency, security, accountability, and disruption entirely all traditional models of trust. But beyond this, how kind of ethical considerations we can have? As we integrated AI and blockchain in our daily lives, it's imperative to consider which kind of ethical implications we will have, mainly in human rights. So how do we ensure that advancements made are alignment with fundamental human rights principles? What you can say that is legal frameworks. I know that our attendants, they are researchers, professors in law, so it's a concern. Because when I was preparing my thesis, there is a sentence very interesting that is, code is the law or law is the code. What is this firstborn? So legal frameworks, navigating the ethical frontiers also involves establishing robust legal frameworks. How can we prepare our society for the next path? So governments, Galter, what is doing today here, everybody together, international, as an international body, we are working to create regulations, to think about, to safeguard human rights in this digital area. So what I would like to stop it is to talk about how can we ask, and in each way, AI specialists like me and my colleagues, how can we ask protection? So I found 10 points, and if someone wants to talk more about, so 10 points very quickly, because we have time constraints. The privacy protection we can ask, and we can have privacy protection from AI specialists, and to know how can we manage information and data, and how can we share. Freedom of expression, we have a lot of algorithms that can create boundaries and show us how can we express ourselves with freedom. Surveillance and mass data collection, it's another very important point that it's possible to manage, and it's possible how can this create our protection. Transparency and accountability, of course, in a day that is today, the Human Rights Day, all over the world, we can talk that with transparency, it's easy to protect and easy to share also the vulnerabilities. Digital inclusion, it's essential. Ethical AI development, we are talking about how can we create frameworks and legislation around the globe, and have also commitment with this kind of legislation. Algorithm bias and fairness, it's very important not to create segments or different groups. Cybersecurity, we are talking, it's not only to protect companies, it's mainly to protect people. Education and awareness, this is a very important for us professors, it's very important for everybody. Explain the boundaries, explain how it's not only inclusion, it's really to understand how AI can interact with our reality. And finally, international collaboration, as we are doing today. These 10 points is how can we ask from AI specialists and everybody that is working, how can they create boundaries? And finally, the legal frameworks, as I told you before, governments and international bodies like Galter, like today, what are we doing? We are creating different structures to think and to promote human rights. And as a conclusion, not only AI, but blockchain also can create ethical practice, because with transparency it's easy to see. The other point, it is political games. So it's important to have a coordination, a commitment from different bodies. So by exploring the ethical and legal frontiers of human rights in the age of AI, we can contribute, and we contribute to a future where technology aligns with our fundamental values. Thank you for having me here. 10 December, the Human Rights Day, and thank you. I'm completely open to discuss the points that I present. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Jyoshna, for the enlightening talk. I now take the pleasure of introducing Professor Dr. V.K. Singh, who will share his valuable insights with us. Before inviting him, I would like to take the privilege of introducing him as well. Dr. Vijay Kumar Singh is a distinguished academician and professional in the field of law. He currently serves as a professor and dean at the Faculty of Law, SRM University, Delhi, NCR. Dr. Singh's career includes notable roles such as head of the School of Corporate Law at the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, officer at the Competition Commission of India, dean at School of Law, UPES Dehradun, and faculty at Hidayatullah National Law University, Raipur. He holds a doctorate in law with a foundational degree in science, followed by law degrees from Nagpur universities, receiving gold medals for the same. Additionally, Dr. Singh has an MBA in HR, a PG diploma in journalism, and is a certified trainer in managing disputes as well as a trained mediator. Dr. V.K. Singh is a prolific author, having written books like Corporate Power to Corporate Crimes, Understanding Corporate Criminal Liability in India, and educational books for high school students and general readers. He is also a life member of several prestigious legal institutes and has authored numerous articles on various legal topics. Sir, we are glad to have you with us and invite you to share your valuable insights with us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Prachi, and everyone. Happy Human Rights Day, my fellow panelists, and special thanks to Professor Bhandari for inviting me as a guest. I would just continue with what Joshina pointed out, and in fact, we'll take it forward. She spoke very interestingly about the artificial intelligence and its role in human rights, and how the AI systems can talk about human rights, or how they can infringe it. So there are both positive and negative elements to it. There can be positive element, there can be a negative element, and that is where the business and human rights responsibility emerge and come into picture. So my talk is basically an extension of a talk which I gave yesterday on business responsibility and sustainability reports. And in fact, this is a very important area where businesses are made conscious about their responsibility as human rights protector. And when they are dealing with AI systems, and if you see at the core of the AI policy and legislation, the objective is to make them conscious about their responsibility, so that the AI system does not generate into bias, does not generate into discrimination, or does not lead this whole system of blockchain and AI into violating any human rights. And this brings us to this context of today's panel discussion, and we talk about that. So just I will give you a brief, background of what this, UN system is on business and human rights. And if I may take you specifically to the UN Guiding Principles Reporting Framework, it all started, today we are celebrating the UDHR 75 years. And UDHR at the core of it talked about human rights and all principles. However, when we look at the intersection or interaction with business, it all started in 1999. It took so many years to realize that, businesses have to understand that what human rights is. And that is where Kofi Annan, the Secretary General then, came up with this understanding of UN Global Compact, wherein they brought these 10 principles of UN Global Compact. And one of the principles of UN Global Compact includes human rights into it. If we map these particular principles, there are 10 principles. And if you see, there are four major areas in which the principles, UN Global Compact principles, are arranged. One is relating to human rights. you can see there are 4 principles which relate to labor, and environment, it is relating, there are 3 principles, and anti-corruption is 1 principle. Now, my point here is, if you look at these principles and have a look at it and try to integrate with AI and AI systems, probably each of these principles apply to AI system. Because when we are looking at development of AI system or blockchain or technology impacting labor, you have to have a look at it, that whether these AI systems are impinging upon the freedom of association, of collective bargaining of labor, whether that is eliminating the support to all kinds of mechanisms of forced and compulsory labor. Similarly, if you see from the environmental perspective, whether the AI systems or particularly blockchain, cryptocurrency we have been talking about, that it generates a lot of environmental carbon footprint. So whether what is the impact around it? So these are dimensions which relates to this. But specifically, if we are talking about human rights, because today is Human Rights Day, the topic which is talking about is support and respect for protection of internationally proclaimed human rights and not to be complicit in human rights abuses. These are the 2 major points which have been talked about in UN Global Compact. And if you relate this to the 17 SDGs which have been talked about, and which actually talks about development for all or taking everybody along, is the major focus area. And we need to integrate all these together and try to have a holistic view. And from a business perspective, because most of these AI system which will be developed is developed by a business house. So the leadership, at the leadership level, they need to think that, and they need to be conscious about the human rights principles. Coming back to the United Nations, there is a framework which is called Protect, Respect, and Remedy framework. And this framework basically is grounded on the 3 dimensions or 3 pillars. The first pillar talks about states' existing obligations to respect, protect, and fulfill human rights. And this comes by way of a legislation. So you will find that at all national levels, there are legislations. If I may refer to one of the legislations in India, that is basically talking about the intermediaries' responsibility. Now, that is something which is the state's responsibility. It has laid down a legislation. Now there is a requirement of businesses to follow these legislation and have their mechanisms in place which does not violate these norms. And ultimately, if there is a violation of these norms, there should be some remedies and platform which will be take up these particular matters. And that is where your GDPR, or you can say protection of privacy rights, and all those institutions are emerging. Now, in the Ruggie framework, I will not go into it, but let us look at what is India's action towards this business social responsibility report. It is a long journey. I will just cut short this particular journey and we'll try to understand 2021 BRSR framework. And this BRSR framework mandates that the top 1,000 companies which are listed on BSE and NSE have to make a compliance statement towards fulfilling different principles. One of those principles refer to human rights, and that is principle number 5, which says basically there are a number of points, but if you will see, it says businesses should not be complicit with human rights abuses by a third party. Businesses should, within their sphere of influence, promote awareness and realization of human rights across their value chain. Businesses should recognize and respect human rights. So in fact, all businesses who are dealing with technology and AI systems or any other systems must be conscious about these principles. That is what is a very important thing. It is not a voluntary requirement, probably. It is a mandatory requirement for at least the top 1,000 companies which are listed on BSE, listed companies, and that by way of market capitalization, and that is a requirement. So if you see this particular report, these are some of the compliances which are needed by the BRSR report, that how they are dealing with their employees, workers, whether there is a gender and social diversity or not, communities, consumers. So these all dimensions have been talked about. I will just cut short and move towards the leader's responsibility, because I think this is an interesting one where they give obligation on the leaders of the organization that their processes are modified and introduced as a result of addressing human rights grievance and complaints. This is a compliance which they need to give. Details of the scope and coverage of human rights due diligence have been conducted. That is something they have to inform. And their premises, offices are having accessible to differently abled visitors. Requirement of the legislation, that Rights of Persons and Disabilities Act Now, probably this legislation will apply to AI developers also. If they develop a system of AI, it has to be disabled friendly, or it should address the disabled, because you cannot have a generic system which discriminates between these two classes of people. And similarly, the other points which has been dealt with. So these are some of my views, and I leave it now, since it is a panel discussion. I don't want to make it an elongated speech. But on these points, I would like to have some questions and discussion, maybe through my fellow panelists. Thank you. Towards the end, I would mention also about LIFE, which is Lifestyle for Environment. And this is an initiative of the Indian government, which has come up really well, where we are trying to, incorporate these small things into everybody's lifestyle, so that we are contributing towards environment, sustainability, and ultimately human rights. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your thought-provoking perspectives. Now, moving on, I would like to introduce and invite Dr. Enrique Aznar. Mr. Enrique is a compliance officer and a practicing lawyer qualified in Spain and England and Wales. He has developed a substantial fragment of his professional career in senior management positions in multinational companies in the telecommunications and technology sector, with special dedication in the establishment of robust compliance programs and in the prevention of risk and management of legal and corporate governance issues in complex environments. He has led cultural transformations based on values and has advised on new ways of managing business, replacing the hierarchy of conventional administration with the power distributed throughout the organization. Enrique earned a master's degree in international and comparative business law from London Guildhall University, now London Metropolitan, in 1993. He attended a PDD Management Development Program at IESE in 2002 and obtained a certificate from the IE Law School in Blockchain. Legal Implications 2018, a certificate in the Oxford Blockchain Strategy Program of the said business school, University of Oxford, in year 2018. He currently lectures on business ethics and blockchain in different programs at IE Law School. Sir, it is an honor to hear your valuable insights. Over to you, sir.
Many thanks. It is a pleasure to be here with you, having me been invited, and I will try to share some perspectives from or some thoughts from a European Union perspective, in line with what my predecessors in the panel have shared. I'm going to also try and share some slides in a moment, and yes, basically my initial reflection is that at least in the in Europe there has been a criticism that 1 second, I'm trying to get my slide. Okay, can you see my my screen now?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So there has been some criticism in the European Union, at least, that technology, or particularly blockchain, was not regulated. And this has allowed certain initiatives that were not particularly compliant with existing laws either, right? Laws protecting privacy, laws protecting consumer protection, laws regarding stock markets, etc., etc. In the last few years, the European Union has made a big effort to regulate on some of these very specific technology matters, particularly on blockchain. And as of yesterday, the European Parliament agreed on the new Artificial Intelligence Act. It will be published in the next few weeks because it needs to comply with certain formalities. But now we will have a legislative body that is going to regulate some of the risks that artificial intelligence poses to individuals, particularly also from a human rights perspective. I watched recently an interview with Mr. Eric Schmidt, who is the former CEO of Google, as you may know, and he made a very interesting reflection. He said that while in the U.S. Companies first launch initiatives and then regulate, in Europe, we tend to regulate first and then launch the initiatives, right? And then my personal reflection is that while this is protective of individuals, as this is the main focus of the European Union authorities, this may be a reason why our largest company in Europe is LMBH, which is a luxury goods company, while in the US they have companies like Amazon, Google, Apple, and other technology companies, right? So the approach is quite different between one another continent, right? But interestingly, in the European Union, a while ago, our politicians realized that Europe needed to foster entrepreneurship. And there was a need to consolidate larger economic groups. We have lots of small and medium enterprises. We have not that many big companies that can actually be competitive with companies in other parts of the world. So in 2015, the European Union introduced the digital single market with the purpose of facilitate online activities, the growth of the digital economy, enhance competitiveness, and ensure consumer benefits across the European Union. And this was very interesting, and I will mention some specific pieces of legislation, right? Some of the very immediate consequences of this package, which triggered substantial benefits for consumers, were, for example, the end of mobile roaming charges. Right now in Europe, you can move from one European country to another, and you don't have to pay roaming, which is something that was very costly for consumers just a few years ago. And the thing is that, okay, all this new approach to things has been materialized, particularly, and I will expand a little bit in a moment, on regulation about crypto. Since 2023, we have a new regulation which is going to come into force at the end of this year or the beginning of next year, and that regulates markets in crypto assets. This piece of legislation regulates mainly utility tokens, stable coins, and e-tokens, electronic money tokens. It does not deal with security tokens because the understanding is that there are other directives on the financial industry that regulate security tokens. Also, very interestingly, in order to foster this economy and the financing of smaller enterprises, the European Union approved the pilot regime regulation on market infrastructures, which is a kind of a sandbox where for 3 years we are going to test the possibility to move the financial, the security exchange markets to the blockchain technology. And after 3 years, the authorities will decide whether to extend this period for further 3 years. This is really interesting because it allows for the tokenization of assets that cannot be tokenized at the moment. For example, shares in limited companies. Really interesting. But what happens with all of this? Well, definitely there are some risks, right? Human rights challenges in the digital area. Some of them have been mentioned by Professor Rodriguez at the beginning of the chat, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but definitely we have very serious issues from a data privacy perspective. And these were addressed, amongst others, by the GDPR, General Data Privacy Regulation, that was approved in 2018, that grants some rights and tries to protect individuals against data privacy violation. Then we have risks of freedom of expression or violation of freedom of expression online. And also we have this very serious issue that was also mentioned at the beginning of the conversation on digital identity and surveillance. And in order to address these issues, there have also been some initiatives at the European Union level. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail today. If you need more information, I will be available. But then we recently had a new data act approved that tries to protect, to expand or to complement the GDPR. And we also have two other pieces of legislation coming, the Digital Services Act and the Digital Markets Act. And as I said, as of yesterday, we have this new legislation coming, which is the AI Act, which is basically a risk-based approach act. It categorizes AI system into different risk categories, and then it establishes certain obligations and also certain prohibitions depending on the level of risk that each solution has. It sets strict requirements for high-risk AI system, including ensuring data quality, transparency, human oversight, and robustness, right? And this is perhaps the most relevant thing that I want to share today. We have also regulation coming on ethics and guidelines for trustworthy AI, which basically deal with all the areas that I've mentioned already. They try to expand a little bit on all of them. This can get a little bit technical, and I don't really plan to go into a lot of detail. As I said, basically, just wanted to give you a hint or a flavor of the kind of things that are happening in the European Union. Let me say that this AI Act, it is going to be the first regulation worldwide that actually deals with this kind of matters, and we are really looking forward to seeing how this gets implemented and what is the impact that this may have in other parts of the world. In the same way that the GDPR, the data privacy regulation, has had substantial impact in other parts of the world, particularly in the United States, where the data privacy standards are different, not to say lower. So I will stop here, and I will be available for questions in the general discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Asnar, for your insightful contribution. Finally, I would like to invite Professor Dr. M.K. Bhandari, the Director of GALTER, to share his valuable insights on this crucial topic. But before I invite him, I would like to briefly introduce Dr. Bhandari. Professor Dr. M.K. Bhandari, with an illustrious career spanning over more than 43 years, has made significant contributions to teaching, research, mentoring, and administration in higher education. As the founding director of GALTER, he has been at the forefront of integrating highly transformative technologies like blockchain, AI, fintech, and IoT with legal education and regulatory compliances. He is a respected visiting faculty at various esteemed institutions, including NLU Assam, and has served in key positions at NIMS Mumbai and Amity University, among others. Dr. Bhandari, who completed his PhD in law, is renowned for his extensive research and publication in law, actively participating in organizing numerous national and international conferences and seminars. His dedication to law, tech, and disruptive technologies makes him an inspiration for all of us. Lastly, an important introduction. Professor Dr. M.K. Bhandari is a lifelong learner. With this, sir, we are honored to have you and are excited to hear from you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Prachi, for excessively elaborate introduction one line was enough that I am a lifelong learner. Thank you very much. First of all, I congratulate all of you on this Human Rights Day. Let us not just celebrate, but relive and dedicate our efforts in promotion and protection of human rights across the world, wherever we are. To my mind, the essence of human rights is human dignity. And when we talk of human dignity, it includes each and every aspect of life. And it is our solemn duty, those who are little have, to protect the interest of have-nots. And also, I would like to say that what could be the best expression of human rights than this Rig Veda's Richa, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kash Dukh Bhag Avid. Let all be happy, let all be healthy, and nobody should feel miseries and pains and disease. With these words, I also thank our distinguished panel speakers who have very effectively, within a stipulated time frame, have raised the issues for our consideration and discussion. Now we are in the age of technology and digital revolution, and many advanced technologies are evolving and impacting our lives. One of such technology which is evolving at a faster pace and which has a great business potential is artificial intelligence. The first thing which we must remember that all technologies are for human beings, and human beings are not for technologies. We must know the art of mastering the technology. Let technology be a good servant and not a bad master. Today, we are witnessing illustrations and examples and actual happenings where technology is dominating, especially in the field of AI, the robots, the drones, the chat GPT, and many other aspects of the AI are influencing positively as well as negatively. Especially deep fake, which is a recent phenomenon, which is also a part of intersection of the technologies like AI, machine learning, blockchain, and large language model, LLM. So many technologies coincide, converge, and they work in support of each other. But when we talk of artificial intelligence in particular, we find that there are a lot of opportunities. Business opportunities are there. Drones is a big business. Even the chat GPT, which is the latest creation, 1 year has only passed when this chat GPT was evolved. It has a great business potential, and Microsoft and Google and all other major tech companies are into the promoting the chat GPT, whether it is a Bard or other things. So therefore, we have to take a pause. And this is the appropriate time. This is the appropriate day. That's the Human Rights Day. When we have to think and consider, seriously consider rather, whether these technologies, what are the better sides of the technologies? Because the human beings have a sense of discrimination. And we must try to learn and try to get ourselves ready, whether they are companies, large corporate houses, the governments, they must get ready, prepare themselves to face the darker side of the technologies with proper regulations, proper ethical framework. I would like to show you a small, 7 minutes, I think, YouTube film, which would tell many things or raise many issues. And then briefly, I will put certain issues before you and conclude it. Prachi, can you run that
Yes,
YouTube film?
yes, yes, sir. Do it. So just give me a minute.
Yeah. Meanwhile, let me tell you that the artificial intelligence, which is not very recent phenomenon, the 3 stages of artificial intelligence. Okay, please watch this short film. It will agitate you. It will.
Human rights are designed to give people liberty, the right to work and have an education, and freedom from slavery and torture. Unfortunately, these rights as they are aren't always universal nor upheld. But could we soon see their basic definition changed completely for a future world? This is Unveiled, and today we're answering the extraordinary question, does AI have human rights? Are you a fiend for facts? Are you constantly curious? Then why not subscribe to Unveiled for more clips like this one, and ring the bell for more fascinating content. Human beings aren't the only species to have rights. Our capacity for empathy allows us to connect with other living beings as well, and as such, animal rights extend to other creatures, aiming to ensure that animals have possession of their own existence, that they can live their lives safely and without suffering. There are still apparent levels at play though, with some other living creatures, such as most insects, not given the rights to the same degree. For example, there aren't any laws against the killing of ants or other pests, but there are laws against hunting certain other animals. And while animal rights aren't universally agreed upon around the world, every state in the US has at least some animal cruelty laws to prohibit killing or hurting animals unnecessarily. So where, if anywhere, should robots enter the field? As technology advances further and further, aware and sentient machines are expected to be a reality in the near future. But will or should they be afforded the same rights? Or should they only be treated as objects to be possessed like property? We consider a being to be alive if it performs certain actions, generally if it's able to grow, reproduce, and/or respond to its environment. Based on this, however, some AI can already be considered alive. Although they don't physically grow, they learn new information and incorporate it into their programming, therefore growing their mind. Some can respond to outside stimuli by doing things like moving of their own accord and participating in games unassisted. And although AI doesn't and can't physically reproduce, the robotics professor Jonathan Rossiter, speaking to Open Mind in 2017, is just one of many who says that they'll one day be able to. We will one day have robot reproduction. Similarly, if AI were ever advanced enough to learn how to create other artificial beings by programming them themselves, another expected development in the future, then in a sense that could be seen as a form of reproduction too. Obviously, the lines between living and non-living beings do grow more than a little blurry when we throw sentient AI into the mix though. Generally, the idea that AI don't deserve rights is the most popular side of the argument, based loosely on the fact that AIs don't have their own independent, living human body. They aren't composed of organic matter, just artificial materials, and therefore, so the idea goes, they don't deserve the same moral consideration. However, it could be argued that this is a flawed view. For one, Professor Hugh McLaughlin, writing for The Conversation in 2019, points out that we do already grant rights to people who aren't alive, that is, people who have died, with things like wills, organ donation, and property matters carried out to their wishes. Future generations of human beings, too, possess no physical body, but we still make decisions in the present with their future rights in mind. In both cases, we're giving rights to people who aren't alive in the present, yet we won't consider rights for a robot which is alive in the present. And then there are various examples of definitely non-human entities which have received human-like rights, statuses, or privileges in the past. In New Zealand, for example, the 2014 Te Urewera Act effectively gave a forest the same legal status as a person. And then, more broadly speaking, even corporations can be treated on a par with people, with US firms operating with some of the same constitutional rights, including freedom of speech and the right to assemble peacefully, as though they were themselves a citizen. In fact, it's around loopholes like these that some campaigns for AI rights are built. For example, in 2016, the legal expert Sean Bayern showed that any computer could technically qualify for rights comparable to a citizen if it's put in charge of a corporation, meaning it could legally own property and even sue whoever it wanted to. Given how swiftly we appear to be moving toward an automated workplace, as far-fetched as these arrangements sound, they might not be science fiction for much longer. Only allowing rights to living, organic beings could eventually become a major inconvenience to us in the future as well. With artificial limbs, implants, and body modifications becoming more and more advanced, some argue that it's now easier than ever to foresee a time when the majority of humans have parts of their body cybernetically enhanced. And even farther down the line, a time when humans might be completely made out of inanimate materials. Today, we're still very far away from the problems which could arise if or when humans legitimately become cyborgs. But it represents one strand of AI where the goalposts concerning human rights are and will definitely be moving. To go one step even further, mind uploading is the idea of transferring a whole human consciousness into a robotic body or computer, where it could then theoretically live forever. This particular strand of sci-fi style future tech already has plenty of backers too, with some even suggesting that it could be a reality within just a few decades' time. Considering that we've also already seen initiatives like the Blue Brain Project report digitally recreating parts of a rat's brain, that is, a once organic brain built inside of a computer instead, there have been some major steps made in this particular direction. So say we continue down that path, what then for AI rights? The potential reality of a human brain in an AI body would naturally bring with it a brand new debate on exactly what constitutes a living thing. But perhaps it would also cast doubt on what truly constitutes an AI too. Scale down to more traditional robots though, definitely man-made machines with definitely mechanized brains, and we arrive back at the types of AI we're getting used to seeing in the world today. On one end of the scale, we have things like automated checkouts at the grocery store. On the other, we have examples like Sophia, perhaps the most famous AI on the planet. For some, even machines as impressive as Sophia can never truly be considered sentient. The American philosopher John Searle's Chinese room thought experiment appears to outline why robots and people can never be the same. The experiment goes that an English speaker is put in a room and made to translate sheets of Chinese writing into English based on a series of rules and instructions. The paper that comes out is fluent in Chinese, but the actual translator isn't. They've merely followed instructions without truly understanding the language. For Searle, the same can be said of AI, that it can never be truly sentient because it is only ever following a series of instructions to appear as though it is. In this way, it might be argued that all AI, no matter how advanced, has been or will have been programmed by humans at some point in time, that humans as creator have rights, and that the machine as creation doesn't. More recently though, there's a growing consensus against Searle's way of thinking. Sophia has already proven a trailblazer but also a controversy. A world first in Saudi Arabia saw the robot granted citizenship, but backlash quickly followed as Sophia wound up having more rights than some women did in the country. Similarly, with more people now on board with the idea that AI could have corporation-style rights, it's again possible that in certain countries, machines could enjoy more rights than other humans do. We're not there yet, but the pendulum could be starting to swing so that, in some cases, a person is effectively treated as less of a person than some robots are. And from there, the future is anyone's guess. An intelligent enough AI could not only outperform human beings, but also feasibly live forever. So the granting of human rights to AI could ultimately accelerate what science fiction usually dubs the rise of the robots. But who's to say that a dystopic, automated apocalypse really will or needs to happen? For many, the true debate lies in our ideas on consciousness and whether or not it can exist in a machine. A 2017 paper published in the journal Science and titled, "What is Consciousness and Could Machines Have It?" argued that because consciousness is still so undefined even in humans, it'll be impossible to replicate it in machines until we better understand it in ourselves. Until that time, when humans are in some way able to identify, quantify, and genuinely recreate consciousness, perhaps AI rights aren't even something we should concern ourselves with. And in a future time when we can truly comprehend the nature of consciousness, perhaps it'll be a much more straightforward issue. For now, though, the debate rages on, and for as long as the Sophias of this world are continually improved and made to appear more lifelike, for as long as the possibility of genuinely self-improving, self-replicating, and self-supporting AI lies in front of us, then the campaign for AI rights on a par with human rights will continue. For some, it's a frightening possibility which could go so far as to destroy human dignity. For others, it's a natural progression in a fast-moving technological world. Right now, AI doesn't have human rights. But whichever way you look at it, it's an ongoing philosophical problem with huge practical implications. What do you think? Is there anything we missed? Let us know in the comments. Check out these other clips from Unveiled.
Hello. Yeah, thank you, Prachi. I think this video has given us enough food for thought. The way in which the AI is expanding its footprints, we need to think whether in time to come, our human existence, the very human existence, or our human rights, as we may say, will be jeopardized, or we will become slaves of the machine. Actually, the artificial intelligence, I'll briefly now raise some issues and then we will be open for discussion. Initially, we start with artificial narrow intelligence, ANI, like Alexa, Google Maps, self-driving cars, vehicles, autonomous vehicles. I think we did not have much problem with that, although some legal issues are still with them. Then we are currently in a phase of artificial general intelligence, that is also known as strong intelligence, where their machine learning, large language model, that is generative AI, chat GPT-like creations, they are posing many legal and human rights issues. And the next level where we are moving is artificial super intelligence. As this in this video you have seen that how the robots will control us. The robots will be infused with the human emotions, and they can surpass the human beings' ability to control them. And that would be, I think, doomsday. Therefore, the world over, a debate is going on, and countries are proposing to regulate the AI. India has also come up with a draft which is available at Niti Aayog's website, and some private companies have also given input. We are also providing some inputs. How we can regulate chat GPT, or how we can check deep fake videos. Even our Prime Minister was exposed to such deep fake videos. Ratan Tata, the great industrialist and actress of Animal, she was also exposed to deep fake videos using AI tools. So in these circumstances, we have to understand and we have to think and discuss whether the artificial intelligence tools and technologies can impinge upon our human rights, that is our privacy. One of the major concern is privacy. India also has recently enacted the DPDP Act. GDPR is one of the model data protection law. Similarly, intellectual property rights, which is also a part of human rights. Human creativity is rewarded with a legal protection. Now, machine can also create certain things. In our previous lecture, monthly webinar, Professor Anuradha Maheshwari discussed these issues very nicely and at length. Whether AI can be treated at par with the corporations, whether legal personhood can be granted to AI, thereby giving them or conferring upon them the IPR like copyright or patent or trademark or that. So these are all issues, and we don't have a ready-made answers to that, because the technology is ever increasing and ever emerging. With the emergence of the technology and its impact, both favorable and negative, we have to understand. And because we don't have a legal framework as of now, we have to create a new legal framework, a sui generis laws. And finally, I would say that the technology admits no boundaries. They are transnational. Therefore, we have always been arguing and advocating at Galter, whether it is a blockchain technology or regulation of cryptocurrencies or AI now, that a global consensus has to emerge. As in the case of IPR, the TRIPS are there, the sea laws are there, the ICAO is there, the ILO is there, which are prescribing minimum standards for labor welfare legislations. Similarly, now we need to have a global technology cooperation at maybe within the UN framework or outside the UN framework, as we have created WTO and its ancillaries. So we need and we strongly support that to meet the ever increasing challenges of the technologies, and especially the artificial intelligence, the super artificial intelligence, we need a global consensus-based legal framework. The countries can suitably modify their legal framework as we have been doing with our Patent Act or Copyright Act or Trademarks and Trade Services Act. So the need of the hour is that we have to ensure the compliances of the human rights. Human rights are the standards which have been prescribed globally. The UDHR and subsequent covenants, they lay down a roadmap, a charter of human rights. And within that charter, we have to ensure that no technological innovation, whether it is AI or blockchain or machine learning or whatever, Web3 or metaverse, they impinge upon, they violate the essence of the human rights. Thank you, all our esteemed panelists who have thrown light and who have raised very important issues for our debate and discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. M.K. Bhandari sir, for your insightful and inspiring contribution. As always, your perspectives have undoubtedly enriched our understanding and added great value to today's discussion. And now, we transition to an equally important segment of our event. It's the time for our virtual open discussion, an opportunity for all of us to engage more interactively with our esteemed panelists. We invite each one of you to share your thoughts, ask questions, or discuss any nuances and related topics that have sparked your interest. Please feel free to unmute yourselves and join in the conversation. Let's make the most of our time together with these experts, delving deeper into the fascinating world of of the human rights in the age of artificial intelligence. So, with the permission of all the panelists and dignitaries, we open the platform for the discussions.
Dr. Sheetal, I may just add that please confine yourself, because we have a large number of participants. Nice thing that large number of participants gathered here.
Sir.
So please restrict your question or observation, whatever, to one only, so that our purpose is to involve and engage as many as possible. And second thing is, you address to whom you want to ask the question, so that the concerned panelist may respond to it. And be brief. My request to all of you, please be brief, participate, share your views, or raise a question, and we would be happy to respond. Thank you. Just an yeah. Or you can also write in the chat box also. We will take it from there also. Or you can just unmute yourself, unmute your webcam also, and raise the question. Quickly, please.
Very good afternoon, sir. I am Professor Venkateshwar from Usmania University. Bhandari sir, namaskar.
Yes, excuse me. But before that, Prachi and Sheetal, I would request to please capture few screenshots. I request all the participants to kindly unmute, open your webcam so that you are visible on the screen, and we can capture few screenshots for our social media projections. Quickly, so that Prachi, you can capture 2, 3. Sheetal, you can also capture.
Yes.
And then we move on to the discussion. Quickly, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are There are few of them who have not opened the camera yet. Should I?
Yeah. So if you don't open, you will not be visible. Your name will be visible only. Yeah.
Okay, so on the count of 3, 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
Then, do we have more? All are covered?
Yes, sir. All are covered.
Okay, thank you. Now, please start. Yes, over to Venkateswarlu.
Sir, regarding human rights, so much of research happened. We have Constitution of India, fundamental rights, directive principles, and other kind of things. So far, these issues are taken care by so many organizations, Human Rights Commission, National Human Rights Commission, and other kind of organizations. By providing funds, also Government of India is taking much care for awareness of human rights. Coming to the artificial intelligence and human rights, but so much of lacuna is there in awareness kind of thing. But what are your suggestions to make awareness among the general public and artificial intelligence? That is my question, sir.
You want to ask to whom? Should I respond?
Yes, sir. Bandari, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Dr. Venkateswarlu, you have raised a valid concern. Yes, these technologies are relatively new, and we need to understand the fundamentals of these technologies, how they operate, and where they need to be controlled or checked. Today's webinar, today's panel discussion is one such step in the direction of education. The Galter itself is working. We have conducted series of programs. You may join Galter and you will feel and realize that how many programs we are doing, whether it is at national level, international level, and we are trying to educate. But more efforts need to be done. I agree with you that we need to have more efforts, and some universities are also conducting various programs. We ourselves are launching few courses in month of January and February. They are at the final stage. One we are launching with SRM University. Of course, VK Singh is here. So we are working on that. So there are a lot of efforts which need to be made. Efforts are going on, but yes, I agree. A lot of efforts need to be made, and we at our level are doing modestly to propagate and to make aware these educational initiatives.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, next, please. Quickly,
Sir,
please.
sir, may I?
Yeah, please.
Sir, please give
Introduce
some more.
yourself. Introduce yourself.
Sir, my name is Sakuntala Gowda, Dr. Sakuntala Gowda. I'm from Bhubaneswar, Odisha, and I am a assistant professor of Capital Law College. So, sir,
and member
here I am
Galter also. Member
Sir,
Galter
yes,
also.
sir, member
Don't forget
Galter.
to say that.
No, sir. Actually,
Yeah,
I
please.
am really that. Sir, my question is that, sir, please give some information about this COP26, about our climate change and this digital single market issues. So, is this a COP is not, no doubt that is a necessary, but this digital market window is now we need to work more about that one. So please give some information about that.
I think Enric Ajnar, who was discussing with the digital services
Sir,
and
Ajnar
digital
sir,
marketing,
exactly,
will be the
Ajnar
right
sir.
person to address
Yes,
these
sir.
issues.
Sir,
Yeah.
about the COP, you may.
Yeah,
COP 26. Yes, sir.
yeah,
Sir.
yes, I may also, but first, please, I request
Sir,
Ajnar to
Ajnar
kindly
sir.
respond.
Sir.
Yes, but very briefly, I mean, these pieces of legislation derive from this European digital single market package, right? And these are a number of initiatives as I said earlier, to foster communications in order to facilitate the growth of enterprises and the financing of enterprises within the European Union, right? They cover different aspects, and Not all of them have been already passed, but the most recent ones are the marketing crypto assets legislation that I mentioned earlier, the European Union regulation on a pilot regime on market infrastructures. And then as a consequence of that, the Data Act was approved last month. Now we have this artificial intelligence regulation that is approved now by the European Parliament, and we are going to see a number of other things coming in the future. Basically, the idea is to regulate the provision of digital services and at the same time protect users. And there is a human-centric approach, right? The subject of protection is going to be the individual, and then the rest is going to turn around the protection of the individual, right? So we are going to see more activity. This is a program that was launched in 2015, right? In 2018, we had the GDPR, the General Data Protection regulation. Now, this 2023, we've had this Data Act and the Artificial Intelligence Act and some others. So these are just pieces of this broader package that tries to foster digital communications within the European Union and at the same time protect individuals.
Thank you, sir. I think this is a need of global partnership to impose this digital market, single digital market.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
Professor Singh, would you like to throw light on COP26, COP27, recently held at?
Yeah. So I think we are already in COP28.
Yes,
so
yes.
COP28 is already happening till December 12th. I think that COP28 in Dubai is happening. But COP27 is very important from our perspective. And I talked about the initiative, lifestyle for environment. That was something which was declared by the Honorable Prime Minister of India in COP26 at 27 at Glasgow. Idea of that particular summit is basically, making the world carbon neutral. So these world leaders meet at COP and they discuss the environmental issues, in particularly the global warming. And you all know that there is a global warming happening around the world. And it is very, very important to look at that dimension. And major challenge is coming in climate finance because money is not available to check, take care of this particular challenge. Because if you will see Paris Agreement, idea was to have 100 billion, if I'm not wrong, of money every year by the developed countries to the developing countries, because that kind of a situation was there. So these debates are happening around it, but the dichotomy between the developed and developing nations is a very big issue, which is emerging and coming up in this whole debate. So that is in brief about COP. I think the topic today is different than this. But definitely from a technology perspective, I touched upon that in my presentation, is that how technology impacts environment will be a question which we need to understand from a COP perspective. That is the brief answer on this point. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please. Next. We have 10-15 minutes to discuss. Dr. Anuradha Maheshwari, if you are here, you can also, because last time you discussed about the IPR issues. Anybody who has some issues to share or discuss?
Yeah, if there are no questions, can I ask one question to Professor Aznar? Because now I think in limelight is the EU Artificial Intelligence Act, and probably at the same time there is President Biden gave an executive order on artificial intelligence. That is also quite an interesting document. So how do you see this Artificial Intelligence Act vis-a-vis the President Biden's? I don't know whether you have gone through it, but it also talks about on similar lines, protecting interest of the citizens and everything. Though it is not a legislation, it is just an executive order. but it shows the intention of the United States as far as regulating artificial intelligence is concerned. So what is your view on that? Because in India, we are just talking about privacy. That is only one part of it, and probably the Artificial Intelligence Act is in the discussion stage. Niti Aayog is having a look at it. So it would be quite an interesting area to hear you on that.
Well, I'm sure you know more about these than I do, and I would also invite Professor Rodriguez to share her views about this. I think that the legislative approach from the European Union and United States is quite different. As I mentioned earlier, we tend to regulate first and then execute. The US tend to execute first and regulate after. I think that the approach generally is more permissive from a US perspective. And we see this from the data privacy perspective as well, right? So we have tremendous protection or important protection, which sometimes means tremendous restrictions, while the US are more permissive. I don't know the details of the executive order of President Biden, but I assume that the US is going to take perhaps a more pragmatic approach, sometimes at the risk of exposing individuals in a way that the European Union authorities would not permit, right? So here, the goal is to protect individuals, and the US is probably more foster innovation and industry development.
Yoshina, would you like to add something to it, to this emerging area of legislation?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. It's quite interesting. I'm not really inside this act, but thank you for your insightful question, because it's a very interesting moment. So I belong from different working groups in America, working directly with AI, applying different services. We can talk about the industries, we can talk about service from the government. So as Gautner, we are discussing in working group, and from the beginning, 2 years ago, and AI is not quite real as we have now in our daily life, mainly with the ChatGPT moment that we are having from schools and from young people and everybody that can access Google, access ChatGPT. So we are talking about a new era of AI. For me, United States, we have always a kind of a different perspective from us that we are living in Europe. We try to have an harmonized standards. So we are talking all the time towards to develop international standards for us and in the same alignment. But in the United States, we are talking about security. We are talking about not only cybersecurity, we are talking security from a government. So AI starts in a different perspective. It's not to be more productive or to be more insightful. No, it's always about security. So all legislation we started with, it's interesting because one of the person that is in the government now started to show how we can manage blockchain in MIT. We are talking about 2017, and now he's the name in United States that it's giving cards how blockchain has in terms of law started and be accepted. And it is the same with AI. For me, AI, we have information sharing that is a problem in the United States. And doctor, I don't know exactly what is the position from Biden, but what I'm trying to say that is before the act and with the experience that I have in the United States, security is the starting point. After we can talk about civil perspective, and we can talk about also about education. So in this moment. Today is Human Rights Day, and we have different wars, unfortunately, in different points of the globe. So AI could help. He is completely realigning all the power from the countries. So it's not a conclusion, my answer, it's not a quite answer, it's just sharing my experience. But I can see that everything that happened with blockchain legislations happening with AI. So it is this. Thank you.
Thank you. We can have two more questions if anybody is interested. We can accommodate, and thereafter we will conclude this panel discussion.
Sir, I think Yatin sir has raised his hand.
Pardon?
So, may I, sir?
Yeah. Is there any question, Prachi? Please check the chat box. Is there any question?
Yatin sir has raised his hand.
Yatin, yeah, Dr.
Hello.
Yatin, yes, please.
Hello, sir. Sir, I would like to, if you allow, I would like to throw light on what Vijay sir asked regarding the EU AI Act.
You can
So,
sure.
yeah.
Sure.
So, a lot of discussions and negotiations are going on with respect to EU AI Act since the last week in Brussels. So, discussion, first day of the discussion started on Wednesday, and by Friday, they have basically come on to an agreement. And it is going to be the world's first comprehensive act, binding act on the EU countries. So negotiations were going on between the EU policymakers and some, you can say, uh, powerful EU countries, as well as the big tech companies like Google, OpenAI, and Microsoft. So the major points on which discussion took place was on regulating generative AI tools, as Professor Bandari discussed about that, how to regulate these particular tools, because uh, the narrow AI is not as riskier as compared to these generative AI tools, because uh, these tools have the capability to generate content, and there are a lot of concerns regarding the copyright as well as the data privacy concerns are there. Plus, another discussion was on whether to regulate facial recognition technology or not. So, tech companies mentioned that they want a lenient approach through EU AI Act, but the EU policymakers was of the view that we should have stringent policies. So this was the major concern, where the tech company says that our innovation will get hampered if we'll be having stringent regulations. But the lawmakers are of the view that the data privacy and the human rights of the people utilizing these technology should be protected. So they basically ultimately took the balanced approach, where these tech companies will be having the, you can say, the opportunity to develop at the same time, and the rights of the people are protected. So these 3 days, I was following these negotiations very seriously, very strictly, and ultimately, so few of the provisions will come into force in next year, but the whole EU AI Act will come in force by 2025. Now, with respect to India, we have huge user base of these generative AI tools, whether it is ChatGPT. We are the second most users of ChatGPT after USA. So yes, it is a concern for us also. In India, we do not have binding regulations, but yes, a lot of work is being done by Niti Aayog and specifically India AI portal, which is basically talking about having stringent regulations on AI. Yes, we also should have such regulations in the on the line of EU AI Act. That is my point, sir. Thank you.
Bandari sir.
Yeah, thank you, Yatin, for giving detailed updates. The way in which you were narrating the developments, I wonder whether you were present there in the negotiations. No. Nice. You have
Thank you, sir.
nicely given the updates. Yes, it is true that all the major countries, including USA, and that is why the Biden has come out with a presidential order. The urgency of regulating the recent developments in the AI, like Chat GPT and even the deep fakes, and has been realized. The social media manipulations, curtailment of freedom of the individuals, privacy concerns, cybersecurity concerns, all these issues have exacerbated the need for regulation. At 3 stages, I will just add a footnote to it. We are regulating it. I mean, first is ethical. The companies are being asked and companies are working to self-discipline and frame the self code of conduct at what they will innovate and where they will stop innovating or using the technology which is detrimental to the human beings. Second is, of course, the sandbox, regulatory sandbox, because as you rightly said, that stringent laws will hamper the innovation, because all these technologies are innovating technologies and they are developing, they are maturing. So the real impact is still not known. Therefore, some regulatory framework along with sandbox where they can be insulated from penal action during the course of the evolution of the technology. And third is the stringent binding code. As you, Joshina, rightly said, whether code is a law or law is a code, it is a vice versa. So as a student of law, I can say it's a vice versa. So lot of developments are taking place, and that's why we thought that on this Human Rights Day, let us discuss the human rights and AI. Yeah, one more question we may take, please. Otherwise,
Sir, I think Saurabh Kumar raised his hand for a while. I wonder
yeah,
if he's present right now.
just invite him and then we will. Yeah, Saurabh Kapoor, yes, please.
Raise a concern regarding the human issues in the uses of the technology. But I feel that we are more inclined to the uses of the technology and
You are not fully audible, Mr. Kapoor. Please ensure that we can hear you.
of the technology, like recently happened with the suspension of the virtual hearing by the Karnataka High Court. And second concern yesterday raised by our Chief Justice regarding the polarization of society on the uses of the social media. These concerns are not addressed, but we are more inclined on the uses of the technology. We need to address these concerns side by side with the uses of the technology as you have in the video that has been shared by you regarding the need of the human. So my issue is regarding these to be taken, both the things to be taken side by side instead of just following the one model of the use of the AI technology.
Mr. Kapoor, I think we have not been able to listen to your question properly. Can you please loudly?
Professor Bhandari, if I may, so because what Mr. Kapoor is highlighting is basically
your
that
mic is muted. Mr. Kapoor, your mic is.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Are you able to hear me now?
Because you are audible.
Yeah. So, yeah, what I am saying basically is what Mr. Kapoor pointed out is two things. One, he is saying basically there is too much of a focus on usage of this particular technology, AI and all those particular things. And second part, which he is talking about is actually how this technology is impacting the humans, and how it is impacting the people around. So whether this particular technology is affecting their lives, that should be also a priority of discussion. That is what his point was, which also the Honorable Chief Justice of India highlighted in a recent speech, what he was saying. And Mr. Kapoor, agree with your point, what you are saying. Basically, there is, and that is why if you will see the development of technology, we are talking about Industry 1.0. From Industry 1.0, we have moved towards Industry 4.0. Now we are talking about 5.0 and 6.0. So when we talk about 5.0 and 6.0, that is basically integrating these human dimensions into the technology. This is something which has been, which we have been now talking about. So these dimensions will intersect. But important point is that unless we bring everybody on board, because not having a technology, access to technology itself is also a problematic situation. And that is being discussed. Like, say, for example, not having an internet connection for a particular period is itself is considered as a violation of rights. So these are what I should say is not very, very clear issues which you can address. They are all overlapping ones. And it requires an overlapping thought to it. And that is why probably the organizations like Galter and the mentorship of Professor Bandari, taking up different issues and different ideas to have discussion. For this particular discussion on AI and human rights also talks about that particular core. So these debates, these discussions and understanding about these issues by common people will actually be the way forward for the legislations. That is what would be the answer to this particular question.
Yeah.
Or maybe a supplement to your comment what you made.
I can just add a footnote. We are living with the technology and there is no escape from it. Technology is impacting our lives and some positively also. The only thing is that we have to be careful while using the technology. The simple answer I generally quote: we use social media, we use Facebook, we use WhatsApp, Telegram, and so many Instagram. Now it is our wisdom what to post and what not to post. Some posts which are objectionable, which can create hatred, which can create strife in the society, we should avoid posting. Generally, in a craze to forward messages, we spread canards and lies. We should be wise in not spreading the unsolicited and unverified contents on social media. Social media is a very good tool to connect. Internet is a very good technology. Today, what we are doing is because of internet, ICT. And during COVID time, we enjoyed the benefits of the technology. We could survive only because the technology was at our disposal. So only thing is that how wisely, how cautiously we use the technology that is in our hand. And for that, we have to understand that the impact of the technology. This is what is my observation. Yeah. Anybody wants to supplement quickly, please? And then we can, I think, conclude. It's already 2 o'clock. I think Joshina has got up early. We have disturbed her sleep. It is Sunday, and I know normally Europeans, they do not work on Saturday and Sunday. It is their love and affection that they have joined us in the early morning hours, sacrificing maybe their breakfast. So really, I am thankful and grateful to both of you. In India, we don't follow that kind of discipline. So thank you very much for that. Yeah. Any comments from your side, please? Okay. Prachi and Sheetal.
Thank you, Professor Bandari, for inviting us. It's a pleasure to be part of this particular event.
It's our pleasure and our honor that you joined and you have shared your thoughts and wisdom with us. So, Prachi, can we now conclude?
Yes.
Jessima, sir, do you have any last?
Sir, no, sir. That's what I concur with what you said. Because technology, we should not become servant of the technology. We should use it judiciously, where the human rights can be protected when we use the technology judiciously and to protect the human dignity. Always there is a clash between the technology and human rights. Always it is there. But we need to be cautious because since we're all wise, let's be cautious. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So one word, if I may be allowed to put in,
please,
is that
Monica is our member. She is a associate dean at ICFAI University School of Law, Dehradun, and Galter member. Yeah, please, Monica.
So from the human rights perspective, firstly, there is this technology divide which will increase due to better usage of AI by developed countries. So that's just an area of concern because it will further, increase the difference between the haves and the have-nots. But like you rightly said, we do have to improve the technology to take better use of it. And those countries who have the technology, whether there can be some technology transfer things that can be put in the laws that will be developed. Then secondly, even the cultural aspects are being impacted by companies who want us to celebrate certain festivals in a certain way. So even cultural and social identities to some, to some effect may get impacted by AI and its overall impact through companies which are object oriented and they are trying to sell their products. So this also can be a part of the one of the issues which should be thought over while we are trying to regulate AI. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the excellent talk that all the...
Thank you, Dr. Monika ji. We agree with you. The technology must be inclusive. And you see, Dr. Joshina would endorse, it is the blockchain technology, that is digital ledger, also we call it DLT. It has helped people in regaining their identity. Even the UNICEF is using blockchain technology, DLT, in distributing the funds to the needy people. So technology, now internet, even every Indian village, India is a huge country, and every village has an internet connection. Every person has got a mobile connectivity. So technology is reaching to people. It will take some time, but yes, one of the object of technology is to make life easier and faster and include those who have been left out from the mainstream. Agree with you. Thank you. So, Prachi, now let us please
yes, sir.
Thank all and conclude.
Yes. As we conclude this enlightening event, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our panelists for sharing their invaluable knowledge and perspectives. Their contributions have been the cornerstone of today's successful discussion, wherein Dr. Joshina illuminated the intricate dynamics of AI and its profound impact on ethical considerations, legal frameworks, and the responsibilities therein. Her emphasis on privacy protection, freedom of speech, surveillance, mass data collection, and accountability in AI development set a tone for a holistic view of the subject. Her insights into the digital inclusion, algorithmic bias, and fairness and necessity of international collaboration highlighted AI's dual role in both advancing and challenging human rights. Then Dr. V.K. Singh continued the discourse focusing on business and human rights. He brought the attention to the significance of businesses being conscious of human rights, particularly in the realm of AI, to prevent issues like algorithmic biasness and fairness. He provided a background on the UN's role with regard to the with regard to the human rights acknowledgement in the field of business, emphasizing the 10 principles of the UN Global Impact, their connection to SDGs, and the Protect, Respect, Remedy framework. Dr. Singh's discussion of the BRSR framework and the India's action in recognizing human rights within business practices, culminating with the mention of Mission Life and the initiatives with the Indian government, was particularly noteworthy. Mr. Asner delved into the digital single market, outlining key legislative initiatives in the EU. He discussed the human rights challenges in the digital era with a special focus on data privacy and the role of GDPR. His overview of key legislations like the Digital Services Act, Digital Markets Act, and the Emerging AI Act, along with ethics guideline for trustworthy AI, provided a comprehensive view of the EU's approach to the digital rights and responsibilities. Lastly, Dr. M.K. Bhandari's insights began with the essence of human rights, emphasizing human dignity and our duty to uphold it. He pointed out that technology should serve human beings and not the other way around, highlighting both the positive and negative influences of AI. His mention of deepfake technology, the coexistence of natural learning and machine learning technologies, and the opportunities and challenges they present was thought-provoking. Dr. Bhandari also stressed the importance of pausing to consider the implications of technology, advocating for proper regulations and ethical framework. His talk on existing legislations in India and EU, intellectual property rights, and the potential of treating AI at par with corporation brought attention to the need for sui generis laws and global consensus on emerging technologies. These presentations were followed by a very enlightening open discussion, enriching our understanding and the perspectives with good number of participations from our attendees, showcasing their enthusiasm in the field and our esteemed panelists contributing in the same. I also want to thank our attendees for joining us on a Sunday and engaging so actively in this dialogue. Your participation has been instrumental in our event of such kind and a meaningful exchange of ideas. A special thanks to Professor Dr. M.K. Bhandari, the director of GALTER. Dr. Bhandari, your visionary leadership and unwavering support for innovative ideas like these have been a guiding light for all of us. Your encouragement has been invaluable in fostering a culture of intellectual curiosity and exploration. Lastly, I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to my co-moderator, Advocate Sheetal Kumbhat sir. Your cooperation, understanding, and seamless coordination have made this event not just possible, but a joy to host. It has been a pleasure working alongside you. Thank you everyone for making today's event a remarkable one. Let's continue
And
to
finally, thanks to Advocate Sheetal Kumbhat and Prachi Mishra for excellently conducting the entire proceedings of the panel and narrating the gist of the discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Can we leave, Prachi?
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Josina.
sir.
Thank you, Azna,
Thank you.
especially, and all members.
Sir, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
We have its recording and we will share with those who are interested and also in our GALTER group. And I invite those who are not in the GALTER family can think of joining us. I have shared my website and contact number and mail. Those who are willing can contact me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.